Hello traders, in this video we're going to go ahead and discuss using the real-time supply and demand indicator in the crude oil market and how to trade it. But first, trading does carry significant risk, and all information in this video is just provided for educational purposes only and is not an offer or recommendation to trade future stocks, options, or Forex. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the basics of trading crude oil. First of all, its full name is light sweet crude oil, so you may hear that referred to as crude oil from time to time. And the ticker symbol is CL. So when you put it in the chart, you want to put in CL plus whatever the expiration contract is. It is traded on the NYMEX, which is the New York Mercantile Exchange. And prices are quoted in US dollars. This is kind of important to know because when people buy crude oil or a barrel of oil, they're going to actually have to convert that into US dollars to buy that barrel of oil. So very important to know that prices that you see there on the chart are quoted in US dollars, and you need US dollars to buy crude oil. Finally, each full contract controls 1,000 barrels of oil. So let's talk about some of the best time frames for the supply and demand indicator. If you're a day trader, you want to see this on a 30, 60, or 240-minute chart. The 240-minute chart is a little interchangeable with the swing trader, but sometimes the markets can be moving quite a bit, have some added volatility, and 240-minute zones might work out a little bit better. But for the most part, 30 and the 60-minute is where you're going to want to be to find these trade locations for day traders. For swing traders, you're going to want to be on a 240, probably for a trigger chart. You may get too many zones there. So ideally, a combination of the 240 and the daily. And at times, you can even go to the weekly time frames if the market is really reaching outside of its current range, and you need to find some previous support or resistance from maybe a year ago or whatnot. The weekly time frames obviously going to have some bigger zones, so you want to be aware of that. But if you're a swing trader, a combination of the 240, 240-minute, and the daily chart is a really great start. Especially if you're a swing trader, you're probably going to primarily focus on that daily time frame. All right, let's go ahead and jump into a chart here so you can see how this tool works in live action. So this is a 60-minute crude oil chart here, and again, you can put this on a 30-minute or 60-minute. So just going to give you some of the ideal settings. And for this example, let's go ahead and go down to a 30-minute. I'm going to go ahead and right-click and go into indicators here. All right, we're going to go down to the real-time supply and demand indicator here. All right. Go ahead and load that on there just as a default, and you can see right away it is marking your supply and demand zones right there on the chart for you. Again, I like the 30-minute look back. You can see some really great support and resistance areas here in the market. You can see it. Look at this one right there. For the most part, I really like seeing it on a 30 and a 60-minute just because you don't get as many zones. And if you go down to a 15-minute or a 5-minute, which you certainly can if you prefer, you'll get a lot of zones there on the chart, and you may get some signals that may not be as strong as you can get on a 30 or a 60-minute. Remember, the supply and demand zones are looking at not just price, but it is looking at the super dom activity. It's looking at orders in the market, volume activity coming into the market, blocks of volume coming into the market. So typically the more data, the better. And for a day trader, a 30 or 60-minute data point is pretty solid. So as you can see here, we have this loaded on the chart. Let's talk about some of the key settings here that I like to use. First of all, up here, the extend zone. Now, if I'm on a 30-minute or a 60-minute, let's go ahead and just extend this out to 240-minute. The reason I do this is that sometimes the edge of the candle will get lost here in the zone. So this edge will be right here on this candle, and it's very difficult to tell the body of the candle, the wick, the high, the low, where the close is if you didn't have this ticker on the side. So I like to extend these out so when the price gets into these zones, I can clearly see the price action that's going on. So that's the first one, is I like to do the extend the zone there. 240 if I'm on a daily. Maybe I like to extend it out a couple days, again, just to extend that far edge of the chart here. For the most part, I like to keep all these checked here. No weak zones, recolor, retouch. I like to keep I want to see these, especially the recolor, retouch, because you can see there's a light green here, and I want to know that these have been tested already. They can be, again, great support and resistance areas in the market, and they've been tested here, and I can see that right away without even looking back on the chart. Price has tested this zone already. The no weak zones, I like to keep that checked here as well, just because I don't want too many zones on the chart. I want some of those really strong and great zones, supply and demand zones here. This one I like to keep unchecked here as well. The time frame type, I like to keep it to chart period, but what's really neat about this tool is that if you are on let's say that you're trading off a 5-minute chart, but you want to see what the 30-minute supply and demand zones look like. Well, you can easily change that to minute and change this to 30. Or even since we're on a 30, let's go ahead and change this to a 240. And you'll be able to see, once you go ahead and click apply, that you'll actually have 240-minute zones on a 30-minute chart in this example. So pretty neat feature. Alright, so I went ahead and hit apply, and you can go ahead and see that now a lot of these zones went away, and you have these are zones based on a 240-minute chart on your 60-minute on your 30-minute chart here. So really neat if this is your trade chart, or if it's a 5-minute chart, you want to look at 30-minute zones. Really neat feature. So I like to change that from time to time, but for the most part, I'll just keep it set to chart period. So every time I change from 30 to 60 or whatever, it'll be set and ready to go there. All right, it'll adjust with those time frames. So these are all 30-minute supply and demand zones. Input series, setup, and visual. Leave all these the same. Don't touch any of these. The alert, for me, I like to leave this disabled for the most part. If it is off to the side, I may put an alert on it, but this can be really useful if you're concentrating on other things and you just want to trade once it gets into the zone. You don't really care about it when it's in these areas here, but once it gets into the zone, it can be useful at times. You typically leave those disabled. Here's a pretty neat one here. The far edge price and the main edge price. This is these numbers all the way to the far right here. So this is showing just the bottom of the zone here, 61.33, which is really useful. The top of the zone here is 60.18. So really, when you need to, it kind of gives you an idea of when you need to pay attention. I also like to look at zone height. So sometimes I'll go ahead and leave this off here. Just go ahead and hit apply. You can see this is 9 ticks wide, 22 ticks wide, 59 ticks wide, so on and so forth. What this does is gives you a really great idea, just glancing at the chart and giving you an idea of how much risk is in each zone. So this is going to be about 9 ticks of risk, so you might want to tighten that up, or you see 22. Certainly might want to tighten that up here as well. So I like to see the zone height here as well. The email address and all that, typically don't have this set up because I'm watching the charts, but if you want to put your email in, it can be really useful. And the colors down here, just giving you an idea of, if you want to change some of the colors here, just really cosmetic if you don't like the current color in the setup. So let's go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the chart here and talk about some of my favorite setups here. So you can see how these charts or these supply zones really give some great resistance here in the market. And when you have these supply zones created like this, and they really are, there's really nothing going on in between. It reaches from 60-20 all the way to 63-20. These can be really great zones to go ahead and execute trades when they really reach from far away. But let me show you some of my favorite setups here. So here is a great supply zone. So I love these zones that get created and they get retested very, very quickly. Okay, so you can get this. You see the supply zone created. I'm going to switch this over. So you see the supply zone created right there, and then it comes right back in and retests that zone, and then it's off. I find these to be pretty powerful here, so I really like these retests when you get them. Plays into price pattern. You get a little bit of a double top here, a little bit of a lower high actually, and you get a really quick retest. You have a ton of selling going on here. Prices reaches out, comes right back into this area, and kind of the scene of the crime here again. More selling takes place. It's really quick retouch. I even like this a little bit quicker. So let me see if I can show you an example of one of these. Oh, here's another one. Here's a great one right here. So you see in this far left-hand side of the page here, you had that supply zone that was created right there. It dips out of price, comes right back in it, retests it, and then a nice little short trade there. Actually acted as some pretty good resistance here, and comes right back in here, shorts again. Another little one right there, and another one right there. So you can see how great these zones can be, how great support and resistance it can be in the market. Look at this one here. Really great example of great demand zone. Really good support here in this market. But some of my favorite setups are when they come out and retouch pretty quickly. Let's go down. Let's go to 60 minutes, see what that shows us. Let's go down to a 15 minute. All right. So here's a good example right here. So you have this supply zone created right here, and this is a 15-minute chart that I'm looking at just for example reasons. Trades down and then comes right back into it not too long after. It's a nice little short trade right there. Another supply zone, but this really never actually came out of it here. But it's a nice little short area there as well. Actually, this one almost gets back in there, but not quite. Let's see if I can find another one here. And this is an example that we were talking about here before. Actually, you see a couple of them up here. So you see the supply zone, really tight supply zone, comes right back out, test it fairly quickly, and it's off. Here's another one, comes back up, test it, and it's off. See if we can find another example here. Oh, here's a great one here. Take a look at this one. So you have the demand zone created right here. It trades up, comes back and retests it within just a few bars. So when you get this impulsive price action and you able to retest this zone in quick fashion here, great little trade location right here near the top of the box. And that was a great long trade. So those are the kind of setups that I like when you get these zones created and it comes back and it blasts out of it, but comes back and retests it in a pretty quick order. Really great way to use supply and demand zones. But as you can see, they can act as pretty good support and resistance here in the market. And finally, for the swing traders, let's go ahead and take a look at a daily time frame. All right, so we have a daily time frame loaded. Here's an example. Once again, you have the supply zone created here, dips out of it, comes right back into it, and look, that was the top of the market right there. Great trade. This one didn't quite reach up there. Here's another great one. Demand zone created, comes up, test it, bam, great looking trade there. Let's see. Yep, don't have any other examples here, but yeah, you can see on a daily time frame you have quite a bit of zones here as you're going lower, and if you want to clean that up, you may need to go to a weekly. But for daily trading, or for your swing traders here on a daily chart, these zones can be really powerful and really useful, especially for a swing trader to really wait and be patient, and wait for these edges of the market. Remember, when these zones are created, a ton of selling is going on here, and a ton of buying is going on here. So, could really be great support and resistance here in the market, especially on a daily time frame. So I hope you found that useful. Thank you for watching this video, and happy trading.